Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Kansas City Profiles presented by Easton Roofing. Today we tell the tale of Bill Severns, a baseball lifer who grew up playing the game in Tulsa, Oklahoma. After suffering the disappointment of being cut from his high school baseball team when he was a sophomore, he rapidly improved as a late bloomer and eventually went to the University of Oklahoma on a baseball scholarship, went to the College World Series 4 times as a player, and was drafted in the first round by the Milwaukee Brewers. He slowly climbed the ladder in minor league baseball, but an injury derailed him, although as you will hear, he thought it was the right time and perhaps a blessing as he moved on to the business world and a lifetime of coaching his sons and dedicating himself to the game of baseball. Just over a decade ago, using that lifetime in baseball, he dedicated himself to his Keepers of the Sandlot project. He started off with a book and talking about Keepers of the Sandlot, the book Coaching, Parenting, and Playing for Keeps. He's written other books about it. And while playing baseball was his passion, coaching his kids proved to be even more rewarding and challenging, and thus he urges parents and coaches to make their kids' childhoods fun and shape their lives to also play the game the way it should be played. He's enlisted the help of people such as George Brett, Ned Yost, and many, many others in the baseball world who see that his particular inspiration for the way that baseball should be taught matches up with theirs as well. Additionally, along with Rick Wagoner, Bill produced the 2015 documentary movie The Sandlot Journey, starring Brett and narrated by former Oklahoma teammate Joe Simpson, who played 6 years in the major leagues and is a longtime color announcer, first with the Mariners and now with the Braves. Still dedicated to Keepers of the Sandlot, Bill Severns' story is one of perseverance and a love of baseball, and he tells it well. Coming up next on Kansas City Profiles, presented by Easton Roofing. We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you had a great year in 2019, a record year. 2020 comes, things are moving smoothly along, and then the coronavirus comes. But your company seemed to be very ready, very proactive, and very ready to serve your customers well.
Yeah, we adopted social distancing very early before the cities even put out the notices. And we started working from home. We are largely cloud-based as a company, so that transition was easy. Our technicians are wearing masks and gloves, and salespeople are not meeting with homeowners. We're doing everything digitally and doing everything we can to do our part to get over this as quickly as possible.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
For many people, a family law case will be one of the most difficult experiences in their life. The law firm of Kenneth McRae will help you through it. Personal and effective help from Ken in concert with you will develop a unique strategy for your unique case. As Ken always says, divorce can be civil law, not civil war. Licensed in Kansas? Visit McRaeLawOffice.com or call 913-972-4765.
My friends at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture are among the most accomplished and trusted clinics in the nation. Only one clinic has been rated in the top 5 in all 3 categories of chiropractic care, acupuncture, and rehabilitation, and that clinic is ASFCA. They have locations in Olathe, Overland Park, Prairie Village, Belton, and Lee Summit. Doctors Brad and Christina Woodle and their accomplished team of doctors and therapists will treat you like family, for the simplest of injuries to the most complicated conditions to avoid surgery. Whether you are seeking treatment for an injury or just looking to stay healthy and fit, this is the place for you. And it's been the place for me for almost 2 years now. I've been a strenuous daily exerciser for years, and as time goes on, that takes its toll. But regular appointments at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture have helped keep me ticking on, and even as the years pile up, their regular care has allowed me to keep to my regimen and feel great. If you want to feel the same, give them a call or visit them at asfca.com/Danny. They accept all insurances and are open Monday through Saturday, and make sure to mention that Danny Clinkscale recommended Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Bill, you were born in Hammond, Indiana, but you were not raised there. How long did you live in Indiana?
Well, Danny lived there 5 years, and then my dad was transferred to Tulsa, Oklahoma, so we headed out, and I became an Okie.
Proud to be an Okie?
And a Hoosier.
Yeah, there you go. You probably your first memories are basically when you became an Okie, and what was it like being a little boy in Tulsa?
Well, it was just pretty much what we went through back in those days. We got up, Dad went to work, Mom was a nurse, went to school, had our summers free to play, and had a great time in our neighborhood. A lot of friends that are still dear friends of mine. So pretty much just your kid in the creek and playing baseball when I could get enough people, like 2 or 3, to play with me and do what I wanted to do. And if not, I had to go play in the creek or do something they wanted to do.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, sir. I had one. My brother Bob is an aerospace engineer with Lockheed down in Texas, and my sister Linda lives here in Prairie Village, and so there were 3 of us.
What was your family relationship like? Was it a close family? How'd you get along with your parents? That type of thing.
Well, we got along great. Like I said, Dad was one of those guys that, probably when he retired had probably 50, 60 weeks of vacation that he never took. And Mom was our nurturer and kept an eye on us. She was a registered nurse. So she worked in a premature nursery. She was one of those gray-headed little mothers with the white hair that rocked the babies, and they call it a neonatal unit now. And but that's what she was. She would just rock those babies, and they were premature, and they would just rock them until they got healthy. So pretty normal. Being the oldest, I enjoyed that. My brother, great guy, obviously very smart, and then my sister came along, and of course she got everything when I was accused of being the one that got everything. So she disagrees with that, so we just go with it.
Now, what was your mother's schedule, and so how much did that leave you alone time, or were you a latchkey kid kind of, or what was that like?
Well, when we were latchkey, we couldn't go out of the house. We had to stay in the house. I think along the lines down the road, if she was working and nobody was home, there might have been a time where we graduated that we couldn't get out of the yard, but we were home. But then the rest of the time, she would work at night, come home at 7 o'clock in the morning, and Dad would leave. So that was kind of our schedule.
What did your dad do?
He was with the City Service Oil Company, a guy that he was probably out in the field. They were probably fracking. I tell people they were probably fracking before it was a term. They were out drilling for oil, probably not fracking as much back then because they were just. But he would go all over the world. Pretty much he stayed in the country, and he worked in the lab. So that was what he did. He ran the lab. They would do core samples for drilling and things like that. So, but he was there for so long that he thought he needed to be there all the time. So he spent a lot of time there.
When was it that you developed your interest in baseball?
Well, probably the first time I saw the Yankees and the Tigers play in black and white, as far as having a baseball dream. And I watched Mickey Mantle, and I wanted to be Mickey Mantle. But I would watch him play, and I remember just specifically, there'd be the game of the week, and that was my dream. So probably knew I wanted to play baseball about as well. I've got pictures of me when I was real little, but probably 7, 8 years old.
Did you, I know eventually you would have a sort of a turning point in your baseball career. We'll get to that. But when it wasn't such a successful time, but when did you feel like you had a little bit of aptitude for the game?
Well, the first year I didn't get cut.
Well, if eventually you become that good a player, though, when you were a little guy, you must have been pretty good. I mean, even though you got cut as a sophomore in high school, which we'll get to later.
Yeah, well, nobody ever told me that I was going to make it. Let me put it that way. I just, when you love, I was really kind of oblivious to how, all I wanted to do was play, and I didn't know how good I was or anything. I knew through elementary school that, I just loved it. And, some of the things that you talk about, the instincts or the the things you'll see a kid playing sometimes, and I just got that they just know what's going on, and that was kind of probably more what I was than any kind of a physical specimen. But I was probably a student of the game without even knowing it. So I knew that, and like I said, once I finally made the high school team my junior year and quit, in the past, then I knew I probably had a little bit of a shot at it.
Talk about the disappointment of getting cut as a sophomore. I mean, that's some guys who just throw up their hands and maybe go play something else. I don't know, but you clearly had the persistence to stay with it. What were the circumstances surrounding that?
Well, the circumstances, Danny, were I had a paper route. So every morning at 7 o'clock, at 4 o'clock every morning from 7th grade to 12th grade, I would get up every morning, 365 days a year, and go out and throw my papers. And I had about 120 papers. My mother had a paper route when she was a little girl growing up in Maine, so she thought that would be a good thing for me. So I would get up in the morning, 4 o'clock, drive down to the highway patrol station and in Tulsa there where we lived, and I'd roll up my 120 papers, and then I'd head out into the neighborhood throwing papers at houses. And I knew I had a pretty good arm because I broke 37 windows in 5 years and canceled my parents' homeowners insurance. And I could hit really what I was aiming at. But the dispatcher at the highway patrol station would say to me that if you'll run over to the store and get the donuts, I'll buy. So, that was a good deal. So by the time I got to high school, I might have been a little chubby. And I had great legs from riding my bike. I knew I could throw, but I probably wasn't in the shape I needed to be in. So when I got cut the next day, the high school coach wanted to talk to me, and what I said to my mother was the most important day of my life, and she agreed. He told me not to quit. And he said, Billy, he said, we knew we were going to cut you, but we also, the numbers were staggering against you. And, sometimes you see it where the numbers are just too big and somebody's going to get cut. He said, but your hard work got you noticed. And so we want you to not quit, keep playing, and come back next year, be a little more ready, and I think you can make the team. So the next day I told Charlie that he had just gotten a raise because I had to quit eating donuts, and but I'd still go get them for him. And I went from like 12 a day to 10 to 8. I mean, you just can't go, cold turkey, in that deal. And I knew I had a year. I knew I had a year to get ready. So I kind of got rid of what was holding me back. And then the next year I made the team, and like I said, then I knew I might have a chance.
What position were you playing at this point in time?
Well, at that point in time, I was the alternate right fielder. They usually take the right fielder was usually not the best guy on the team, and I was his alternate. But I made the team, and then one day the other right fielder didn't show up, so I became. And it was a 6A school in Tulsa. It was a big baseball powerhouse. And then about halfway through the season, I got moved to center field. So center field was what I loved the most. I'm left-handed, so I didn't have many options.
Right, exactly. And you said your legs were strong from riding the bike on the paper route all that time, and obviously your legs became a weapon for you, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, the old Schwinn. I mean, a lot of people can identify with that old Schwinn, big old wheels and a big old basket on the front of it, and riding up and down the neighborhood, and got to be pretty good at it, as far as the legs were concerned, because that just took a lot. And it was just kind of an old-fashioned conditioning program, I guess.
Well, you obviously rapidly improved from this point forward because you'd end up going to the University of Oklahoma. But before we talk about that, what was it like being a high school student in Tulsa, in a big high school at that town, socially and otherwise, in the late 60s?
Well, I was, I loved my classmates. Like I said, I didn't make any of the teams. I was I was not a big athlete. I was actually the manager of the football team. That's a whole other story. But the high school football coach asked me to be the manager of the football team, and so that got me into the 6-hour period that you needed to be in to make the high school try out for baseball. And not the most glamorous of positions, but it got me on the road to 6-hour PE. Other than that, I had a tremendous amount of friends, and we really enjoyed each other. And to this day, on Facebook, they're always doing something fun. So it was a good deal, good time.
And as you talk about your senior year of high school, and obviously you're developing as a player now, and developing to a player good enough to eventually become a very good college player. So what was that senior year like, and how are you developing as a player?
The senior year in college?
High school.
Or high school. Well, it was, I wasn't drafted out of high school. I was told that I would be. Didn't really, again, cross my mind. I was just glad to play. And all of a sudden I got a couple scholarship, couple scholarship offers. And my favorite one was Bacone College in Muskogee, Oklahoma. It was the first offer I got, and Nigel King was the coach, and he called me one day and he goes, Billy, he says, we'd love to have you, and we know you're probably going to go somewhere else, but we just want to let you know that every Sunday afternoon, Mrs. King fries up a big old pan of fried chicken, and you're invited every Sunday. And that almost got me. I almost took that scholarship, and then I did get a couple more offers. I'd always wanted to play at Tulsa University because they had gone to the College World Series, and they wanted me to go to junior college first. And then I got a full ride. I got an offer to go to Oklahoma State, and then I got one to go to Oklahoma. So it came down to Oklahoma, and they had never won the Big Eight, and I was pretty excited about that. So we did go on, and we won 4 Big Eight titles, and ultimately played in 4 College World Series. So, it proved to be the right decision. And
you had set all kinds of records at Oklahoma, but it doesn't. You're painting yourself as really not the greatest player in the world, but I think you're downplaying that. You go to play professional baseball. Were you sort of a late bloomer as a player, or how did that work?
Well, I was, obviously, I would say, oh my gosh, I don't even know. To me, it was just playing the game every day, and I really didn't, care where I was. I would say that it was a late bloom, probably, compared to, in that context. My junior year, I made second team All-City, and then my senior year, I made All-State in Oklahoma. And so that was, but then, when you go to the university, everybody on the team's an All-Stater. Mm-hmm. So you really start right back over. And it was not easy. I mean, I think the first day I walked out onto the field at Oklahoma, I think there were 6 of us in left field, and most of them were All-Staters. So, and, one of them, Joe Simpson, was not going to be moved out of center field, and then there were 5 other outfielders in right field. So, you just really go to another level because there's really somebody to take your spot there pretty quickly. So you just every day you just doing what you can. And I probably started more. Well, I started probably 60 or 70% of the games my freshman year, and then my sophomore year a little bit more. And then Joe Simpson, who was the center fielder, moved and was drafted by the Dodgers. So then I got to play center field, and then that was pretty much where I stayed.
And you went all 4 years to the College World Series. What kind of an experience was that during that time? We know what a big deal it is now, as far as the stadium devoted purely to the College World Series and things like that. Was it a little bit of a different world then, or was it still a big deal?
It was a huge deal, and it was a very big deal. And I still love watching it. I miss Rosenblatt because that's where all of our that's where we played, and I missed that, and I haven't seen a game at Ameritrade yet. But, when you're the thing that I always loved about it was being a part of a team, and we were trying to win a national championship. That's really more than, and we never did. Southern Cal won it 5 years in a row, and they were just loaded, and we got beat 4 times, 1-0 in the Cosgrove series. I mean, we would face tremendous pitching. Dave Winfield beat us 1-0. Eddie Bain, Richard Wortham. We were just always in these dog fights. But the difference was it was only like a 3 or 4 day deal. That's the main difference. And so some of our starting pitchers, Bob Shirley, George Frazier, Jackson, some of the guys that went on, they got to pitch 1 game.
Right.
And then, and the other, and not that we didn't have good pitching down the road, but we weren't, we didn't have that thing that they do now where there's like 2 to 3 weeks where you get to, kind of reload. Not 2 to 3 weeks. It's a 2 to 3 week long tournament, it seems like.
Yep.
So the pitchers have a little more time to rest. And so it's just real different. I mean, if you lost back then, you had to play the next day, and you could literally be back on a plane gone before some of the teams played their first game. So that's pretty tough. And like I said, we never did win it, but we and lots of days where we thought we should have, but things didn't go our way.
You were drafted after your junior year by the Yankees, but in the 12th round. What was the decision at that point to come back? Just money wasn't right, or you figured you could just make your draft status, which you would eventually, that much better? Did you consider? What was the process of considering it in the 1974 draft when you were drafted by the Yankees?
Well, they're really. It's interesting because according to the way it's built up in this day and age, it really wasn't a decision. That was not days of big money. And when you get drafted in the 10th, 12th round, back then, they give you, 15, 20 grand, something like that.
Right.
And I really wanted to win the College World Series. So that probably sounds kind of corny, but we really thought we should win it. And then my mom always wanted me to get my degree. And, you hear a lot of guys talk about the influence of their mother, and my mother was my best friend, and she was everything. And, I just wanted to get my degree and finish up. And, Gene Stevenson, Wichita State, was the assistant coach there. And now when we talk, he says, he always thinks that senior year is good for you because you only get one shot to prove yourself, and you should be as ready as you can be. So that wasn't even the thinking back then, but I wanted to win that national title.
Well, then the next question is an easy no, I guess, because they had a secondary draft then, and so in January of 75, which would be before the baseball season, the Giants drafted you in the 3rd round, which would have made it a little more enticing, but apparently not, right?
No, the money was even less.
Okay. Well, there you go.
I think 15 to 20 grand was a little way. You know what they got? We were by then. See, we were already getting ready for spring training. I mean, we were ready for our senior years. So there wasn't really much discussion at that point.
Well, if there was discussion, you certainly would have made the right decision because you were the first-round draft pick of the Brewers. So now that you've mentioned the other figures, well, what was the figure in being a first-round pick in 1975?
Oh gosh, let me put it this way: it was enough to buy a 1975 Cutlass Supreme, sky blue with a white half top and corduroy, brand new, and I don't know what that was worth back then. Maybe $6,000. I don't know. I don't really have any idea, but it was enough to get a car and my degree, and to me that was big money. That was good. Now the starting salary to play in the minor leagues was $500 a month, so that was the most any player could get in rookie ball. So, you really paid the price back then. I mean, really.
So you do what most draftees do at this point, even if you're coming from the college ranks, and you go to short season A, and you just slowly work your way up. But after a couple of years, you had 3 really great years in a row in the minor leagues, and seemingly you were working your way towards at least getting a crack at the major leagues, the show.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for saying that. The problem was the guys above me were having really, really great years. The Milwaukee Brewers were known as the Brew Crew, and Norman Thomas and Ben Ogilvy and Sixto Lascano and Larry Heisel and Robin Yount and Molitor and Cooper and Bando and Simmons. And they were probably the biggest collection of hitters, that I had ever seen for sure. But Norman Thomas played center field, and my first year where I was ticketed for AAA, they sent him back to AAA, and he had 65 home runs in Sacramento. I mean, when I hit a home run, I was the most surprised person in the park. I mean, I was a line drive hitter, never even believed they went out. Those guys can keep you in AAA for quite a while, even though you're, doing pretty good. It was a tough team to be with.
And then in your age 27 season, you're probably thinking, I've done a lot of good work. I hit 300 3 years in a row, but I've got a lot of people in front of me. And then you had an incident that would kind of change your life, not just your baseball career.
Yeah, the first year that I'd been told that I was probably going to make the team, I was sent back to AAA because they kept a Rule 5 player. And he had never played for the Brewers, but they had bought him from the Angels. So he played the whole year at the big league level, so they didn't have to offer him back to the Angels. So then the next year, I was doing a hit and run the end of August, hitting 329, hitting 330, having a great season. And on the hit and run, you have to pick up the batter, obviously. And it was a guy named Eddie Romero, and we had done it 1,000 times. And for some reason, to this day, I don't know why, I didn't check him to see if he had put the ball on the ground. And he popped up. And so when I looked up to try and find the ball, I hit the second base bag, and I tore the ligaments in my left ankle. And that literally ended everything for me. And the reason it did was they told me it would have been better if I would have broken my leg in half instead of stretching everything the way I did.
Right.
Because they said it probably wasn't going to go back. There was no way to tighten it back up. And so the next year when I went to spring training, I get a call the next morning that I'm coming to the big leagues if I can run. And I told them I'd be there. And so I tried to run for 3 days, and I couldn't. And so the next year, kind of the flame had gone out for me, and I was traded to the Giants again, went to camp with them. They sent me back to AAA, and I quit. I had a job waiting on me, but the fire had gone out, and I was through playing.
And were there any regrets? Did you think about it for a while, or?
No, because it was gone. It was out. I just walked away. My wife sometimes will say I should have made you play, and I shouldn't have let you quit. And I said, well, honey, you didn't have any choice. I mean, I didn't feel good. It wasn't there, and I had lost a step, for my speed,
right,
which I needed, obviously. And so I had a job waiting on me. So, we had a baby, and so I had a way to provide for him, and I was done. So that's it.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Llewellyn from 23rd Street Brewery, wishing you well while you stay safe during this time of uncertainty. Due to the recent news, you won't be able to get the same in-restaurant experience at the 23rd Street Brewery that you've come to expect over the past 16 years. But you can get the same delicious items prepared with the highest level of staff cleanliness available for carryout and delivery through our partners Eat Street. You can also still enjoy our craft beers and crowlers for to-go service. So remember, stay safe, and together we will all get through this time of uncertainty.
We're visiting with Larry Marshall, former Chiefs defensive back and punt returner and now a Chiefs ambassador. Larry is a former pro football player with the aches and pains that come with that. And moving on in age, as we all are, what do the Canaway CBD products do for you?
It's been a great relief for me. Being a punt and kickoff returner, collisions were a mainstay of my career, and these Canaway products, the salve especially, has really helped me try to get through every day with the aches and pains that I've had over a career of 7+ years in the NFL.
I get similar benefits as well, particularly with my back. Certainly wasn't a football player. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information about the great products themselves?
Well, I'm so enthused about it, Dana. If they just contact me at larrymarshall.canaway.com, and I can give them all the information they need to help them get through the day as well.
Start gaining all the benefits that Larry and I do from the trusted and reliable line of Canaway products. As Larry said, visit larrymarshall.canaway.com and get information on all the great products from Canaway. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Our guest is Bill Severns. He's the author of several books and a longtime coach, and as you heard, a professional baseball player and somebody who does so many great things in this community. One of his books is Keepers of the Sandlot, which I'm looking at right now, Coaching, Parenting, and Playing for Keeps. Also has produced videos and movies, and the Sandlot deal we will get into in just a little bit, and the idea behind it, Keepers of the Sandlot. Tell me, but you just referenced starting a family and everything. How did you meet your wife?
Well, we met in high school. We went to the same church, and we were so we've known each other. Golly, probably the longest stretch of our relationship has been these 5 weeks of isolation for her. Bless her heart. She'll let me go do an interview or get out of the house anytime she wants. But we've been married 43 years and dated through college, and so we were sweethearts at a very early age.
Well, clearly she was really supportive, because she talked about the fact that she maybe should have encouraged you to keep your dream going, but you really didn't want to anyway. But, for somebody to persevere 6 years in the minor leagues, and that's tough on an early relationship too, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it was. We got married my first year, it was 77 in AAA, and she was a group of wives. They had a lot of fun. There was a good stuff to it. Spring training was always fun. They would listen to us play on the radio that night and stuff like that. So they had a good time, and it was a good time. We were really. We didn't make much money. Back then there was just not much money. I think but we were all in it together, so they had everything from Tupperware parties to whatever they do. And it was a good time.
What was it like raising a young family as you made the transition into the business world?
Well, moving into I had a great opportunity to go to work for a man in the construction business, and I had worked for him part-time during the summers.
Right.
So actually I made more money doing that, and we started building in the building business and raising a family and building houses, and I built in 4 states for him, and that's how we originally got to Kansas City in 1984. So it was a really good time. As we traveled around a lot, probably the best thing that ever happened is that our children were always our best friends. So we were a unit, and to this day we're still a unit. We had each other, and I think that's just really, you kind of see it even in this COVID deal where the families are, it almost looks like to me the Sandlots kind of come back to the houses. You see all these parents doing great things with their kids and discovering each other. The guy on the Sunday morning Good Morning show that's been cooped up with his kids in New York, family of 6, and so our family was always very close. It was never a problem being with our children.
Did you always feel like you were destined to coach a lot? Was that just something that was going to be in your blood and you were absolutely going to do it because you've been a youth coach for so long and started up pretty much right away, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always knew that I wanted to coach my children. I never wanted to be a coach, like a high school coach,
right,
or a college coach or anything like that. That just was not. And most of the guys in school, they would go into teaching and things like that. But, I'm left-handed, and I never could do a projector. And I didn't like, it was just, I just didn't want to be a coach. I did love coaching my own children, though, and did that for a long time, for 22, 23 years. So that was a lot of fun. And I loved coaching the kids that were their friends. That was always really fun for me.
And how did you just start to come up with this idea or develop the Keepers of the Sandlot idea, which is not just a book, it's a wide-ranging fundraising thing and philosophical approach to coaching and making it fun. And what was the development of that idea? How did that process work?
Well, it started one night. I'd been coaching it really just evolved over about the last 12, 13 years, but I was coaching third base out at 3 and 2 and talking to actually it was my youngest son's last year to play, and I was standing there wondering, what are you going to do? What are you going to do where's your base? What are you going to do for baseball? And so I'm standing there talking to the third baseman on the other team, a kid that I had watched grow up. He just loved to play the game, and hey, how you doing, Coach? Good to talk to you. And I said, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. And so the first ball hit to him that night. He blocked. He missed it, and his coach in the third base dugout yelled pretty loudly at him, and it really kind of shook me up a little bit. And I had never said anything to another coach, but I looked over at him and I said, "Hey, come on, man! It's just an error. He just booted it, and don't yell so loud. The yelling." I just always hated the yelling. Well, the next ball that was hit to him, he blocked it with his chest, and he picked it up and he threw it 40 feet over the first baseman's head. And, because he was afraid. I mean, he was scared to death. And so the yelling got worse. And all of a sudden, I just hear this in my heart. I hear this, okay, write your book. Because this coach was really having a really rough time, and I knew I could help him out. I knew that I could help settle this guy down. I didn't know he was his dad
right
at the time. I knew I had seen them together, so I figured he probably was. So anyway, right there at that moment, I hear this, okay, write your book. And so, we're supposed to be the keepers of the Sandlot, or this time. We're not supposed to be, it's just supposed to be a great time for kids to play. So the next day, I called Jeff Chalk, who runs 3 and 2, and I said, "Hey, buddy, how many kids have played at 3 and 2?" And he said, "Well, since 1953, we've had 65,000." And I said, "How many have played in the big leagues?" And he says, "Well, easy, none." And
wow.
So that really blew my mind, because I knew Cone. I'd played against Sutcliffe. I knew they were from Kansas City. I mean, but at 3 and 2 now. Since then, there's been some kids that have broken in, and there's been a few. But the key, really, how this started was that I have 2 friends that are vice presidents of scouting of major league teams. One of them's Gary LaRocque with the St. Louis Cardinals, and the other one's Stan Meek with the Miami Marlins. And I knew I could get them to help me prove it to the parents that, hey, look, just let your kid play and enjoy this, because they'll find them. If they're good enough to play in the big leagues, they'll find them. So that's really where it came from, the book. It's just based on that, hey, enjoy today with your kid, They're probably not going to play in the big leagues, but if they can, then these guys will find them, and they've told me to tell you that. So that's where I knew I could help.
And the book is really a compilation of a lot of people's ideas and a collection of things and stories. I mean, it's sort of a baseball smorgasbord, but the underlying thing of it is absolutely, this is a fun time in young people's lives. Make it fun, make it positive, a message that's very important. So you write the book, but you weren't satisfied with just that. You wanted to turn this into a movement, per se.
Well, parenting is really a hard thing to do, and I knew that I had a niche. I knew that I for sure knew that I didn't know everything, but I knew that I had a niche of some guys that would support what I was saying to help parents relax and enjoy this time. Because, one thing that I know now at my age and where I am in my life is that I know time really flies. And what happens is that what we would do is that our kids, the ride home, the last chapter of The Keepers of the Sandlot is called The Ride Home.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's where I thought for a lot of people it kind of falls apart. They analyze, they overanalyze, and all that kind of stuff. And there's another ride home, and that's one of these days you drop your kids off, at some school or something like that, which is what we did. And then you ride home alone, and you just don't want to have any regrets. So I knew that I had a lot of guys that would help me. You're right. It's a combination of many, many people that have agreed to endorse kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, Ned Yost, Gene Stevenson, George Brett, so on and on and on. And you have so many relationships in baseball, but it obviously says something about you and your message that these people have been so supportive, and those names also help drive the movement.
Yes, sir. Yeah. No question about it, because they're all parents. They're all dads, moms and dads, and really, doesn't matter who you're talking to, whether it's Ned or George or Kevin, Seitzer, Brian Holman, whoever it is, they've all got kids. And when I was on a show one day with Les Norman, and really what was happening is it seemed like to us, and he said this, not me, but looked like the epidemic of the yelling and the violence, or whatever you would want to call it, in youth sports was really an epidemic. And that's what Les said. And I said, "Oh, I agree with you. I guess that's, and when you go to a Little League game and your kid's all excited, the family's excited, they're not expecting mom or dad to get hauled out of there in cuffs, and it can really happen. It can happen in any sport, or it can happen at any event where, if you get out of control, and that's really not what you set out to do. So, from that standpoint of view, I know that we've helped a lot of guys just settle down a little bit and enjoy their kids. And so that's been a very, very, I think, good thing for all of us to be able to do and help out where we can.
Well, I know from experience and talking to people, and my wife is somebody who knows you better than I do, that you do have a gift for salesmanship and encouraging people. And where do you think that came from?
Well, it always just seemed to be, I always seemed to just enjoy being with a team, maybe being around people. I mean, this COVID thing for me is a killer. Because,
right.
How do you stay 8 feet away from anybody all the time? I'm a guy that needs to be with people and enjoy it. And I always enjoyed being a part of a team, specifically in high school, but I was also in the orchestra. I played the violin, and, we were a team. And then it's kind of funny how in high school and college you were more of a part of a team, and then when you go pro, you're a part of a team, but you're really more responsible for your performance. Obviously you have to be perfect, as you get to that higher level, and it is about the team. And having Ned around here in the Royals, oh my gosh, to me, Salvi and the happiness and the fun and Ned, and it wasn't easy getting where they were, but once they got there, and 800,000 people showed up for our,
right.
celebration. I mean, that was that was the biggest. That's a pretty big, team event, so to speak.
And also, intertwined in all this is that you're a man of strong faith, and I know you'd want to talk about that and the impact that has on this whole process for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, that I've always my heart. I knew that God given me in my heart a desire to play the game, and that's all I ever want to do. And in Psalms, it talks about committing your way to Him, and He will make your path straight. And turns out that His path wasn't exactly what I would have imagined as a path, but by the time the right people came into my life and I worked hard, then He really did give me the desires of my heart. And that is what I was, like I said, the day after He cut me, He wanted to talk to me. And my mom passed away about 6 years ago, and I told her, I said, the day Coach Hensley wanted to talk to me was the most important day of my life. And she said, yes, it was. Because if he wouldn't have encouraged you to keep going, you would have just gone away. And I thought, that was my mom saying that, and she knew it. So, to me, it's my faith, and it's doing what I think, I was put here to do, and to give Him the glory for everything. So, yeah, my faith is very, very important to me.
And what does the future hold? What are your goals and dreams for continuing this and keeping the Sandlot idea alive? What's your viewpoint over the next, once we get past, of course, this time of craziness? But ironically, the other day I was just driving around. I take a therapeutic drive at the end of the day because we're cooped up, and I actually drove past a ball field, and it was the first day in Kansas that you could go out and actually play. And people were being pretty good about their social distancing, and the kids didn't sit in the dugout, and so on and so forth. So you saw that desire to get out and play with these kids looked like they were 14 or 15 years old, and just about the age that you're talking about. But what are you looking forward to when we get past this?
Oh goodness! Well, we have a nonprofit, a 501c3, to help parents relax and encourage them and provide materials and all those kind of things. But Danny, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I know that the season's been canceled up to this point for baseball, but I really think the little leaguers need to be back out there, probably more than the big leaguers. I think a lot of parents would agree to that. And if the big boys don't start playing again, well, then go out and watch a little league game. They're just as much fun. And, I have a rocking chair now that's a titanium rocking chair from it's a rocker, and watching. We have 12 grandchildren, so it's not like there's nothing to go to. I get told where to go now, probably more than where I want, or think of going. So when you get to this point, you just want to enjoy every day, and you see that it's where did it all go? How this happened so quickly? I've been watching MLB's highlights and all the games and stuff like that, and I enjoy that. And man, I'd give anything for an 82-game schedule, just to keep watching the game. And I think what you see a lot of people doing is appreciating everything more than we did maybe, 2-3 months ago. Everybody's starting to appreciate each other and a game out on the Sandlot and stuff like that. So I think some good things. I know there's a lot of hardship that's been created. It's been horrible, but there's been a lot of things taken away from us. So I think I'm just going to be like everybody else and really appreciate every day that that I can go do something like a park, like go for a drive, like you said.
And can you reflect a little bit on that you mentioned that was the most important day of your life when you coached, talked to you and told you to encourage you to come back. What has that lifelong journey in baseball meant to you?
Well, it's meant everything, Danny. I wake up every day thinking about baseball, and just probably like you think about broadcasting, and somebody else thinks about being a doctor or whatever. We all have something that we love to do. The thing about baseball that I think most guys will tell you they miss is the camaraderie of it. You miss your friends. You miss the guys that you played the game with. Of course, you never lose him, I'm going to go to St. Louis next week. I got a friend that's going through some really serious stuff, and you're a part of a network of guys, and you all did the same thing. So all along the way, sports probably, again, with the relationships of the guys that I played with, meant the most to me. So for a lifetime, those were friends.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.